Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to The Last Stand. And remember, the rebellion starts here.
The time for empty talk is over.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
Together, we will make America great again. America first.
Hey guys, John Wesley here. Welcome to the podcast. It is November the 18th, a beautiful Saturday morning here in South Carolina. Thank you guys for joining in. We really appreciate it. I'm also very satisfied with the new name, The Last Stand, because it is the last stand. This is our last chance to take this country back. This is very serious. You know, we tend to enjoy life and we try to enjoy our family. We try to enjoy the great things and the fun things in life. But if you were to step back and observe the entire picture, and you were to look at what the radical left is attempting to do to our country, it is a very serious problem. That is the entire reason of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I may never make a difference. Me talking into this microphone may never make a difference. Me writing articles or doing live streams or just engaging with the public, it may never make a difference. But I refuse to sit back and not do anything. We have to do something. Get active. Get involved. Get a group of people together that think just like you think and do something about it. If you do nothing but run for if the only thing you do is run for a local town, like a county council or city council, do something. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. A lot of things going on. I want to say this. I was talking with a good friend of mine the other day. And this friend is just like me, where we're a little obsessed with politics. I've been this way for a long time. But he also understands the dissidence that exists within the left. He understands the severity of what they're doing. And I told him, this is a perfect time to start a podcast. This is a perfect time to write political articles. It's a perfect time to engage in political discourse, because there isn't one day that I wake up that there isn't something new going on. You can get up every single morning, get on your, whatever your preferred news outlet is, whether it's mainstream media, alternative media, there is something new coming out every day. And so there is an ongoing flow of information, an ongoing flow of material to build content. Do something. This is The Last Stand. And that's why we named this podcast The Last Stand. It is our last stand. And 20 years from now, we're going to look back and we're either going to see success or we're going to see failure. And if we do not come together as a traditional American people, then we will not succeed. And we will see failure 2 or 3 decades down the road. We will see our people become a minority. We will see our people become a minority. It is there. The trajectories, if the trajectories stay the same, European white Americans will become a minority. Some people like Joe Biden says that's a good thing. How could that be a good thing? How can your people being replaced in your own country be a good thing? I want my daughter to grow up in the same country that I grew up in. I want my daughter to grow up in a better country than I grew up in. But anyway, a lot of things going on. Obviously, there are sex monsters running around all across the country. It started with Harvey Weinstein. After Harvey fell, the dominoes began to fall. Now we have people from Harvey Weinstein to Kevin Spacey to Louis C.K., the comedian. Now we have, Al Franken. Now that was actually a really funny story, because Al Franken is like the champion of the left. This goofy guy from Minnesota he has like squinty eyes that wears his little spectacles and wiry hair. I think he's actually Jewish. But Al Franken is one of the biggest, and excuse my language, but Al Franken is one of the biggest douchebags in Washington. But this news reporter, a journalist, come out, and she claimed that Al Franken sexually assaulted her while sleeping. I believe they were on a plane or either in a building. They were overseas in the Middle East. I think it's USO. It's this military organization that they book entertainers and singers and comedians to go to the Middle East to perform for our troops, or they did during the wars. I'm not sure if they're doing it now. I know we still have kind of low-scale operations going on, but regardless, they went, and Al Franken was the headliner. And I was actually unaware that Al Franken was a comedian, but it makes sense now. Anyway, Al Franken goes over, and this woman, she is part of the celebrities or whatever that's going. And Al Franken comes to her and says, "Hey, I've written this skit, and I want you to be in it. You have a part." And so they're backstage, and he's like, "We definitely should rehearse." And he says, "In this skit, I'm going to kiss you." And this woman's like, okay. And so she imagined, from what she said, she imagined that when he leaned in to kiss her, she would, turn her head, he would kiss her cheek, and it would be funnier. It would make the whole skit funny. Well, he insists that they practice this kiss, and she thought he was joking, and she was like, "Yeah, right, whatever." Well, he keeps on, and he keeps on, until she's like, "You know what, whatever, let's just practice it." So as he's going in, she was going to turn her head, but he grabs the back of her head, and he proceeds to ram his tongue down her throat. And this woman was, she was just outraged and disgusted. I would have never agreed. I mean, I'm not gay, but I'm just saying I would have never agreed to practice kissing Al Franken to begin with. But anyway, and then I believe after this day was over was when the picture was taken. Basically, she was in a Kevlar vest and a helmet and asleep. And Al Franken is groping her breast. Someone snaps the picture, or either he takes the picture. I want to say it would make sense if he took a selfie, because nobody else in their right mind would have participated in this. And long story short, she doesn't really tell anyone except her boyfriend or her husband at the time. And now, because of this ongoing ousting of all of these people, this woman gains the courage to come out. Let me say this: rape and sexual assault is very real, okay? I'm not delegitimizing women who have had to endure these horrific events. I'm not trying to make light of it. And if you look at the facts with the Al Franken situation, he sexually assaulted this woman. But I want you to take it this way. CNN broke the story. She come forward, CNN broke the story. And I observed CNN during this fallout, and they literally talked about it for maybe 10 hours that day. And part of that 10 hours was them also reporting, Jake Tapper reported, that the accuser accepted Al Franken's apology. He immediately admitted it. He apologized. He issued this long letter about he was so ashamed and he's a champion of women and all this great stuff. And the woman accepted his apology. I really don't understand why she even come out, but long story short, the media absolutely let him slide. Now, they've been talking about Roy Moore for weeks. That's all we've heard is Roy Moore, Roy Moore, Roy Moore. And we don't even have proof. The only proof that they have is this yearbook that Gloria Allred will not release for a third-party analysis on this signature. That's all they have. Other than that, it's their words against Roy Moore. And to be honest with you, 32 years later, 4 weeks before a major Senate election, and 5, 6, 7 women all come out at the same time, you cannot make me believe that this wasn't an organized attempt to sabotage Roy Moore's campaign. Now, Roy Moore very well could have dated younger women. He was a war veteran. He was a young lawyer. He was a powerful young man in Alabama in the 1970s. 3 of the 6 women said that Roy Moore was a gentleman, that their mothers endorsed it. They, consented to date him. And that's it. That is those 3 women coming out just to tell that story, to tell their story, is the entire reason this whole thing reeked of an organized effort to delegitimize Roy Moore's campaign and to commit character assassination. That is why a lot of people are not falling for this media crucifixion of Roy Moore. But regardless, compare him to Al Franken. Compare him to any other liberal, and the media gives them a free pass. That is the reason why we are so disgusted with CNN and other mainstream media outlets. When we say fake news, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're saying that they're reporting actual fake stories, even though they do. But when we say fake news, we mean that they are no longer the Walter Cronkite of CBS. They're no longer a nonpartisan media outlet. They are a cheerleading squad for the left. They are a cheerleading squad for the DNC. Look at the way they humiliated what's her name? God almighty knows. Donna Brazile. As soon as she came out against Hillary Clinton and admitted of what the Clintons done with the DNC and manipulating the election and the primaries, look at the way they turned on Donna Brazile. I have no clue what the Clintons have on CNN, but they have something. They are holding something over CNN's head. It's a shame. It's absolutely a shame. And this is a further example of what we're talking about with the media being one-sided, the media being cheerleaders for the Democratic Party. But if you pull up CNN now, on my iPhone, I have a news folder. And within that news folder, I have CNN, Fox, MSNBC, Breitbart, The Daily Caller, The Daily Beast, and InfoWars. I have many different news apps because I want to see what everyone is saying. But if you look on CNN's app right now, the very first article, the headlining breaking news article, it says Kushner testified he did not recall any campaign WikiLeaks contact. Then, Senate Judiciary Committee requests more info on Kushner. Special counsel subpoenas Trump campaign for more documents. Senate panel says Kushner documents incomplete. Mueller seeking interview with publicist who set up Trump Jr. Russian lawyer meeting. Trump says he has put big game trophy decision on hold. The next article, what tax reform means for you. Trump's comments on Franken revive interest in harassment claims against himself. CNN is nothing more than a left-wing propaganda machine. That's all they are. Look at their articles. Look at what they're talking about. And that is why I say that the left in this country, they are at war with us. They would love to see us disappear. And when I say us, I mean anybody on the right. We are being shut down on Twitter. We're being shut down on YouTube. We're being shut down on every social media platform there is. Look at what they done to Gab. I mean, Gab tried to create a free speech environment, and Apple nor Google would even allow it to happen. Now, another big story that's going on is Twitter come out yesterday. On Thursday, or actually 2 days ago, on November the 16th, and unverified many different right-wing personalities on Twitter. Now, if you do not understand what I'm talking about, on Twitter, if you are considered an influential person, I guess it's someone who is very well known, who has a large following on Twitter, you were able to go through this process where Twitter verifies you, and that is people who have the little blue check beside their name. People like Barack Obama, Donald Trump, obviously. Any actors, big entertainers, Richard Spencer was another, James Allsup, some of the key figures in the alt-right. Baked Alaska has actually had his account permanently deleted. Lauren Loomer was also unverified. And so someone pointed out, they actually shared a photograph from left-wingers on Twitter calling for white genocide, who have not been touched. They are still verified. They are still basically endorsed by Twitter, saying that this is the real person. They are legitimate. Okay, and they're out delegitimizing people like Richard Spencer, who has been a peaceful personality. Richard Spencer has some ideas that people don't like, but Richard Spencer hasn't committed any crimes. He hasn't hurt anyone. So is James Allsup. Baked Alaska, I understand, is kind of like a troll, he trolls people on Twitter, whatever. But if you look at all of the people who were unverified, they are all on the right. I can't tell you how many problems I've had with Twitter over the last 6 months with my own Twitter account. I'll just be cruising along the feed, and all of a sudden my Twitter locks. And it tells me I have to go through this verification process where they email me or they call me with this number. And it's just, it's not really a big deal, but it's like, okay, guys, you're going to be that obvious. If you can go back through my Twitter for months and months and months back. You can go back months on my Twitter account, and I have never said anything that I would consider to be breaking the Twitter community rules. What they're going to eventually do is they're going to make it where anybody on the right, whether they're a conservative, whether they're alt-right, whether they're like a Cernovich, Pasobic new right guy, they're going to make it impossible to operate on social media. And they know, these people know how important it is for these movements to utilize their social media platforms. It's the same thing. I heard Richard Spencer talk about how the censoring going on social media platforms is the same exact thing as a tyrannical government censoring its people, a communist government censoring free speech. Because in those places where there are dictators, there is no such thing as free speech. So it's something to think about. It is something to acknowledge, and it's happening. In closing, I will say this. Roy Moore, I don't expect to be the savior. Okay? We understand there is a difference between conservatives and true right-wingers. Now, there are different factions within the right, but the John McCains, the Mitt Romneys, the Mitch McConnells, the Paul Ryans, they are no different than the left-wingers in Washington. And I would be willing to say that Paul Ryan is actually a liberal in disguise as a Republican. Look at his voting record. Look at all of the bills that he did not show up to vote on. If you are a true conservative, that is upholding conservative values and conservative principles, you don't not show up for these important bills that are very important for your constituency and that are very important for conservatives all across the country. So I don't expect Roy Moore to be any different, but the fact is that Roy Moore was singled out. Look at all of the men who have been accused in the past 4 to 5 weeks, and all we've heard CNN report on is Roy Moore and Donald Trump. They are trying to assassinate these people's character, including the 45th president of the United States. So we have a choice. We can either stand or we can either fall. And this is the last stand. This is our last chance. You can either be with us or you can be against us, because the people who are too caught up in their own little bubble and they're too much worried about their own personal lives and making their money, you're just as much to blame as the boomers, because the boomers betrayed their children. They betrayed the country. They were too caught up in reaping the benefits of their parents rather than keeping our country alive. Now we're facing replacement. We are being replaced in our own country. So guys, I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to have an episode coming out every Wednesday and every Saturday. If it gets a little bit bigger and we have more people viewing this, we might step it up to 3 or 4. I mean, I could do this every single day. There is enough information, there's enough stories out there to do this every single day. Okay, I'm not famous, I'm not some well-known person, but I have goals. I have a message, and I want to get my message across to as many people as possible. And when you listen to this, the simple click of a button to retweet it or to share it or to comment or whatever helps us out tremendously. So thank you for everybody. There is a small group of people who have stuck with me from the very beginning, and they never knew me from Adam. So I thank you for that. This is John Wesley with The Last Stand, and remember, the rebellion starts here.